Hey, good afternoon. It's a really wonderful day here in northern Michigan. Sun's shining, I'm on the boat. Probably should be relaxing, but guess what? I'm thinking about you guys and how this year is going to go. And I know there's a lot of uncertainty, and most of all, I think when I look back at last year, there's a lot of excuses that everybody's going to be able to make about why something didn't get done or why you could do it again another day. You all were raised going to school every day during the school year. You had a schedule, you had bells, you had parents at home getting you off, most of you, to school on time, and you had a bus and all the rest of this. And so for all these years, you've done what you're supposed to do, and now we're asking you to do stuff on your own. We're asking you to take charge of your education. And whenever you ask someone to take charge of something, they can either grab it and go with it, or they can figure out ways around it. So last year, you guys, most of you went through the shutdown and then the remote learning, and you probably know a lot of students didn't do much because there weren't grades and all the rest of that. But for me and AP kids, I thought, no, they'll be different because they're AP kids, but they weren't different. And I had about 30% of my kids actually doing the stuff I wanted them to do to get ready for the exam. So I sat down one day and I was kind of frustrated, and I wrote a letter to them. And I thought, you know what, rather than waiting until I get frustrated, I'll read you that letter now, and we'll talk about it in one of our discussions, and I'll post it. But I'd like you to listen to how I look at this pandemic and what your role is in it. So, dear students, I need you to try. As I write this in the midst of the COVID-19 crisis, I try to imagine what you must be thinking sitting at home. I realize that for more than half of your biological lives and almost all of your conscious lives, you've been part of a system that's very good at telling you what to do and how to do it. We bring you to the same building, along the same route, picking you up in the same order, dropping you off at the same door. We ring the bells at the same time, and you listen to the same teachers in the same order, delivering lessons that are supposed to meet the same objectives as every school in Michigan. So that at some point, you can all take the same set of tests that are all supposed to measure the same thing. You do this on the same days of the week, the same months each year, and when you've each had the same core courses for the same number of years, striving for one of the same 5-letter grades regardless of the course, we hand you all the same piece of paper, and we call our jobs done. And when looked at this way, the system looks horrifyingly the same. You all learned over the past few weeks that there is a lot of comfort in that sameness. You always knew what was expected and when. Granted, not all of you all chose the same attitude towards school, but if you did, you all pretty much had the same chance of making it through. I also tried to imagine how you've been assessing the adults of your world, who you always assumed would provide you with the structure you relied upon to get you through your day. As teenagers, you're obligated to squawk about your parents, and you rattle your sabers of discontent just so the adults around you know you're there. But in the end, most of you put those sabers away long enough to eat, borrow the car, and go clothes shopping. And as much as it outwardly bugs you, you always know that if those almighty grades began to slip, the adults in your life are there to help put you back on track. After all, they went through the same system, the same way you do. They know the path. And then there's the government. Like most people, you really didn't have to think much about the government. Beyond the faces that show up on the news, almost all the government is really the institutions and people whose job it is to make and enforce rules that make most of your life so reliably the same. You all go through the same process to get your driver's license so you can drive your car, manufactured under the same set of rules on the same streets, governed by the same set of laws so you can drive a job where limits on hours, wages, and working conditions are at their base the same for everyone. When the government is functioning well, you hardly know it's there. In the last few months, however, you've gotten to watch a government that we all know is there. There'll be plenty of blame to go around once this is over, and countless books will be written on who should have done what and when. It's all going to be very clear to us. For now, we get to watch a wide range of people trying to manage a crisis that doesn't want to be managed. And as you sit at home, it must seem like all the adults outside of your family have gone totally off the rails. So what to do? As a teacher, I am certain I'm going to do whatever is necessary to keep you engaged in your education. As a human, I'm going to be shoving the same square peg into a new round hole. And I'll keep shoving it until I throw my hands up and say, these kids just won't try. And that will excuse me from my failures, and any failures that we might encounter over the next couple months. None of the things you grew up knowing will be in place. But they are, in fact, in some place. No bus, no building, no bells, no classmates, no grades. What? No grades? What will motivate you to do anything? How will I get you to write an essay, read a paper, practice for that test? And then it hit me. In the absence of all the routines that have governed almost every part of your life since you could first remember, an opportunity has bloomed. For the first time, you can participate in your education without the incentive or the threat of a grade over your head. There is no test at the end of the semester. There are no standardized tests that will represent you as a single point on a curve to measure you against all the other students in the state and the country. There's nothing. Nothing except the opportunity to be the only judge of your efforts. Nothing except the chance to be really proud of accomplishing something without the stress of waiting for some teacher or some computer to tell you how you did. You can be really what you've always been without realizing it. You can be in charge of your own education. All I need you to do is try. So that's the letter I sent to them last year. Now you guys will have grades this year, and we don't know anything about tests at all. But I think about this letter a lot, and I think about the reaction I got from a whole bunch of students who thanked me for it, because it did give them a release. It did give them an opportunity to show and be proud of something without them having to wait for me or some other teacher to tell them that. So as we get underway in 2021, all I'm going to ask you to do is try.